We always talk in terms of athletic development. The webinar's title I'll explain in a minute, but anytime you see anything we do online or write or anything of that nature, it's always going to be surrounded by athletic development. Now, we break all the things, wherever you are, whoever you are, you're coaching, you're training, you're teaching, whatever it is, you really do one of three things. In a program, you either lift, run, or jump. And of course, on the slide, you can see I've broken running down into speed, change of direction, and conditioning, just to kind of make you see that I understand it's bigger than just run. But we've put it all into LRJ, and this is the key theme right here. Everything is connected. So whenever you do something, you have to understand it's connected to what you're going to do and to what you did previously. So what we're going to be talking about today is the run aspect of it. So as we move along, we'll move that up one, and 5 training themes to streamline speed development. Okay, now here's the thing. Training themes will simplify and change your life forever. That's going to be one of the things that we'll show you how to link it to where you can take your running themes and tie them into the lift and jump. All right, let's go ahead and look at the next one. And here are those themes. Now, the training themes work like this: 0 to 10, 0 to 30, change of direction, then a combo of straight ahead linear speed and change of direction. And then the 5th one is a unique feature that we'll get into more detail to later, called high speed 110s. The distance is negotiable, and we've done different distances, but the operative phrase is high speed. And that's a very particularly important thing for you to pay attention to. Then begin again. Now, it says watch closely, because here's what I want you to understand about a training week in our system. And let me just make this clear. What we do may not fit into your schedule, your context, wherever you are. Don't worry about this, because we have also kind of created a shrink to fit program. So that means we're going to get your themes in somewhere, whatever your schedule allows. 0 to 10 and so forth. Begin again means that we're back to 0 to 10. And what I was alluding to, our training program was in the summer operated on 6 days a week. So we went Monday through Saturday. If you can't do it, don't worry about it. But what we did on Saturday, that was just a straight out track day. And typically our runs went from 100 to 150 meters. Well, if you think about that, we got Sunday off, then we're right back at the track or the field working out on Monday. So it just made more sense that we would take and go back to 0 to 10. We did not want to go back-to-back hard, long runs. So when you see 0 to 10 and so forth, begin again, we want to start and ramp it back up, because we felt like the legs were probably going to be a little tired from squats or heavy lift on the legs Friday, long run on Saturday. Now we can fine-tune 0 to 10. 0 to 10 is in everybody's game. If you play volleyball and have to take 1 or 2 steps, you better be quick. 40-yard dash in football, we always say this: if steps 1 and 2 are good, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 will be fine. And on down the line, that baseball player coming off first base, et cetera, et cetera. So 0 to 10 is all about the first step. 0 to 30 is really about the sprint mechanics themselves, because the mechanics change from 0 to 10 into 10 to however far you're going. Change of direction is pretty self-explanatory. That's usually been referred to as agility quickness, and that's fine, it is, but we'll explain more detail here in a little bit about the importance and what change of direction can do for you in your program. And then the combo just made sense to me, is that, well, in a sport, you do that. You're going to have to run straight ahead. You're going to have to change direction. You're going to have to do it all at once. So we blended that in there. And then the high speed, as I already mentioned, it's got a very unique feature to it. Let's go to the next one. Let me just kind of give a little history here. I think it's very important that you understand history, because training that we do, we didn't just make it up. It comes through, years of observation and dealing with athletes at all levels. The problem I ran into, and I may help you with this because it's something everybody runs into, too many choices. If you went to a clinic and got 5 or 10 speakers that gave you a million ideas, you can't put a million ideas in when you get back to your facility or training or whatever you're doing. So it simply had too many choices. I always thought, if I could be smart when in my coaching, when I was around great athletes and great coaches, Shut up and listen and ask questions. And so one summer, we're in the Maverick off season. I had one of my 6'9" power forwards running on the track, and we were taking a break. And it just occurred to me, it's like, Herb, how do you know when to retire? The guy never blinked, hesitated, or, hey, let me think about that. He just said without hesitation, when I lose my first step. And that was the beginning of really rethinking and changing my speed training program. One step. And so first step sounds really good, but I just put that into 0 to 10. So that's where that came from. And just from that day on, I started trying to develop a 0 to 10 philosophy. From there, in 2002 or 2001, actually, I was up in Lake Placid doing training for the Olympic Games in Salt Lake City. We had right at 43 skeleton athletes from around the country. And what that meant was 43 athletes and up to 30 to 40 different coaches, and they were hearing different messages. And so to keep from being, conflicting with their coach or alienating the athletes, I was on the whiteboard one day trying to explain our speed training, and I had that aha moment at Lake Placid where that 0 to 10 became more in focus. And that's when the first time I said, if steps 1 and 2 are good, then 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10 will be fine. So that's kind of those aha moments that I hope you have, because why? You're always thinking about what you're doing. And I always, year after year, I'm looking at programs saying, how can I refine it and improve it? And those little innovations will come at another time. No matter what, in my opinion, an athlete in any sport is going to have a start, sprint, and finish. So our speed training themes fit those 3 things. Now, I'll just go ahead and say, go to the end and work back. The finish is the goal, right? If you cross the goal line or you score the basket or goal, then that's the finish, but you've got to get there. So the start and the sprint are the keys, which are 0 to 10 and 0 to 30. Okay. Let's see what we've got next. I mentioned in the beginning, everything is connected. So let's look at those connections. In our training themes here, these 5 training themes that are going to help streamline your program, every day one, I don't care if it's Monday, I don't care if it's Saturday, whatever you call day one, every day one is 0 to 10 because of the cycle I already mentioned. Every day 2 is change of direction. Every day 3 is our 0 to 30. Then day 4 becomes our change of direction or combo day. For day 5, we are a lift jump only, because day 6, we are at the track. Again, shrink to fit will come into your program as needed. Here's where it becomes very important and made it so much better for all our training programs throughout the year. Every 0 to 10 has a different program menu. The same with all the daily themes. Now, here's the way that works. Everybody's got the hurdles and ladders and maybe cables, and we use medicine balls in different aspects. So we have, because I need to write things down for recording it and say, what did I do on this day or that day? I'll give you an example. We have the ladder. We use the ladder as a warm-up tool most of the time. Then we have a half a ladder. Then we have ladder, what I call a lot of steps. So it's ladder, lot of steps. So that means all the drills are 3 to 4 step patterns in each box. We have ladder basics, which is just absolutely what it sounds like. 1 step, 2 step, hop. It is an extended warm up. Same thing with the hurdles. So I have what I call an impulse program, spatial illusion, the 10 hurdle basic, those kind of things. So we identify what we're doing each day. That way, that same 0 to 10 theme gets a different stimulus. 3 hops and run over the hurdles is an outstanding 0 to 10 first step training program. So that way we can identify what we do, and you may choose to do it different ways. I don't mind doing back-to-back identical programs twice. So if we do program A on the first day one, then the second week, day one, we do that again. I'm okay with that. But by the third session or the third week, I want to make sure we rotate the stimulus. I don't want their bodies adapting too quickly. So all the themes are in place, and we put the program in play based on the day and what we did, again, connected the week before and what's coming up in the next week. It's a whole different, probably webinar on conditioning, but we want to kind of mesh that with our running, of course, our speed training. What you don't want to do is be opposing or conflicting, and I'll have a slide on that in a minute. But if we do 0 to 10, our sprints, we're going to be under 100 yards. And so we can, the point is this: you can take off and run fast and maintain that speed. 0 to 30, because it's the sprint mechanic, we need to have the 80 to 150 yards. Now, a lot in that statement. Okay, so first of all, if you go to the weight room and want to get stronger, you do reps on a bar and you add weight to the reps, add weight to the bar. If you want to get faster, think of sprint strides as speed reps. So if you want to get faster, you have to go fast. If you have to go fast, there's only a certain amount of distance that you can maintain that speed. And in probably all the cases, after 150 yards or meters, you're on a curve too long and you cannot maintain that speed. For us, at 150 yards, we can run that 50 yards of the curve, and then we get to where we're straight and running, but we've built up our speed and we can hold our speed stride. Our reps are fast and our speed is fast. So those are the reasons why we do that on those distances. Change of direction, we have change of direction conditioning drills. So we have you're probably familiar with the 5, 10, 5 or the Pro Shuttle. We have a giant shuttle that mimics that, but it's longer. It's right at a 60-yard distance total. And then, of course, if we do a combination day, we mix change of direction with the sprints of under 100 yards. Okay, everybody got that? That's pretty good. It'll help you a lot coming down the line. On our next one, what we want to do is kind of get out in front of this. We got to fight the tension. And so that becomes the speed versus conditioning. Okay, you'll see that slide here in a second. So when you see speed versus conditioning, they are and are not the same thing. Okay, now I'm going to kind of take my time through this, because this is I've talked to coaches and staffs, and they sometimes have a hard time separating these. Well, we do all this running, but we've got to get in shape. Okay, I hear you. I agree, and there's no question about it in anybody's mind. High speed training is conditioning. We have a 95% rule. And so we never run, I guess you could say, full speed or 100%. It's just, it's too taxing, and recovery can be an issue. 95 is pretty good in and of itself. But when we do our training, we don't have but two speeds. One speed is warm up, so whatever that is, half speed, 3/4 speed. Then the other is training, which is 95%. So you'll never hear me give a 70% this time or an 80% this time. You'll hear me say, go fast. Change of direction is conditioning. Change of direction is conditioning. I'm going to jump ahead here to the buyback time. If you're working hard and going at high speed and changing direction, your legs are getting beat up. I mean, here's the deal. With change of direction, an athlete has to be fast to be effective in all this. Fast, strong, explosive, and very balanced. So change of direction gives you a package deal when it comes to mobility. So change of direction is conditioning. Change of direction is hardest on the legs. Therefore, they're getting a workout in the central system. You're tired. We have what we call the super shuttle. We do the 5, 10, 5 5 times in a row, and that's 100 yards. And it's a lot harder doing that than just running 100 yards straight. So change of direction is a great conditioning tool, and we'll weave that in here in a minute. Also, O2 is the designation for aerobic. Aerobic fitness is an active recovery. And we have this little thing we call 612, and it's really turned into an accidental plus for us, because, again, we'll get into these details as we go. Well, we would jog a minute. This is kind of at the end of practice on a day 3. We jog for 6 minutes. And let me just kind of give you the highlight of that. All athletes are not created equal. We had a wide receiver. I was coaching one group one time, coaching a football team, and a wide receiver would get up on Saturday, and he played Friday night. And he'd get up on Saturday before our Saturday practice and go run a cross-country meet. And so he had to condition during the week. And then he'd come to football practice. not a big guy, a wide receiver, like I said, but he could literally run all day. Well, now you take my big old lineman, and this could be in any sport, you know, in basketball or other sports where there's the body types and sizes are very different. We theorized that at the end of practice, we, of course, could not run for 20 minutes and get cardiovascular fitness, but we were already pre-fatigued. So what we did was a timed run. By doing a timed run, everybody ran the same, which coaches like to say everybody does the same. Now, that wide receiver cross-country guy, he was going to run all day. That big old lineman, not. But if everybody ran 6 minutes, in my opinion, it was equal, and it became a real windfall in our conditioning program. Then we'd walk a minute and run jog 2 more minutes, and I kind of theorized, and it was proven true. So difficult to start and restop, so we really gave them a work on that. So the tension between speed and conditioning is not what you would think. And to kind of, if I would do it on a graph, you would have speed and conditioning, and the lines would pass as you kind of pulled back on speed training and started increasing conditioning in an off-season program. Now, for us, we do a heavy dose of speed in let's say, summer program in June, or first 4 weeks, because it's so technical, a lot of teaching and a lot of gadgets that we use, whether it's cables or medicine balls and so forth, that we have to specialize with our coaching, and we're going fast. And by the time we get into week 3, 4, and 5, we're starting to increase our conditioning, a little less on the speed reps, but our guys are in shape and can handle it. And we mix our sports. So in our summer program, if you're a female soccer player, softball, you're with us, and we're all working out and getting in shape. All right, let's go ahead. So we have these 5 training themes. Oh, excuse me. So as we get through athletic development, what we're looking at is 0 to 10. I'll just review this so you'll have a good view of it. 0 to 10, we're working on first step acceleration. Every sport has that. Coming off a spot. I don't care what that spot is, tennis. And by the way, when we talk about sports, we will divide court sports, field sports, and then the rest of them go uniquely. So, for example, we put wrestling kind of with the court sports because they are in very short, change of direction kind of thing. So the themes will allow you to develop your athletes because they give you the ability to go weeks of preparation and weeks of adapting your kids to different training stimulus. 0 to 30 is just your sprint. Okay, the start's important, but man, you've got to sprint. The change of direction, remember, buys back time, gives you more stress on your legs, and it will work you out thoroughly. And I have done programs where we'll do a heavy-duty change of direction training, and we're not doing any conditioning, what we call additional conditioning, because it is a done deal. The thing that kind of came out of all this, because we use all of the toys with the ladder and the hurdles and so forth, speed breaks. Now, if you're taking notes, you have the opportunity to write that down. Speed breaks. They were just a windfall for us, and let me explain that. Hurdles and ladders. So what we do is we go through and we do our drills, whatever the theme is, a 10 hurdle basic, spatial illusion, and we do about a 30-yard sprint just to open the legs up. So the premise was we're running 3 to 4 foot strides, little impulse, tap, tap, tap. Let's get the stride back opened up. So we would take a speed break and run 1 or 2 30-yard quick sprints. Get a drink of water, come back, get back on the apparatus. And the thing was faster back on the drill, whether it was the hurdles or ladders or whatever. And we do hurdle ladder combos. That's another deal. So that was really kind of fun to watch. Well, we kind of discovered that absolute accident. Looks like a lot of great inventions. So speed breaks are crucial to speed training if you're using the toys, the hurdles and ladders and cones. Now, not to be left out, change of direction has its own. The change of direction speed break was a 15-yard sprint, back 10. And so they had to sprint down, hit the brakes, and come back hard. And so that also helped do the same kind of thing because we were doing 5 and 10-yard change of direction drills. So that's how 5 themes can streamline your speed training program. What that allows you to know, just before I forget again, You have to determine what your athletes need. And so you get what you pay for. And if you say, oh, I like this, these themes are great, but we really need to be better with our change of direction. Okay, that's fine. Add more change of direction combo days, but don't go all of one. If you get a full-time 0 to 10 program, you're probably going to be great 0 to 10, but they haven't learned how to transition to the distances that you want to actually run. And so let me give you a little example here. I was doing a clinic for tennis, and I was talking about how we would do tennis players. We'd run our somewhere 30 to 60-yard sprints with these guys and girls. And one of the tennis instructor pros said, they don't run 30 yards. Okay, I agree. I've been on a court, and we've calculated these things. Tennis players can sprint, a pure sprint, 7 to 9 yards max if the ball's put in one part of the corner and they've got to go all the way back to retrieve one, 7 to 9 yards. Baseball, of course, has 90 feet. Football has 100 yards and more. And when I say more, I was when I was on the sideline with the Cowboys, we got a kickoff to Herschel Walker at about the 5-yard line, and he took off up the field, and the coverage team ran down 60 yards, had to hit the brakes and turn back and run another 60 yards to chase him to the end zone. So, there's long distances involved in sports that you might not think. And of course, I don't want to just leave out our soccer brethren, but you guys are covering miles. And when I was with the Dallas Burn, we were at the Cotton Bowl, which was at that time the largest pitch in MLS. And so we had to cover some distance. So all of these things come into play when you're designing your program. So don't get locked in on, we're just going to really work that first 2 steps, like Coach King said. Yes, but you've got to go past that. And so make sure you balance whatever you think your team needs, balance it. You need more of one, add a day, not the entire week. So don't get heavy-handed on one thing. This happens all the time when we do consulting with schools, and they give us a program. It gets real lopsided. They start doing, I don't care what it is, a lot of power cleans. The word that I listen for when a coach says we do a lot, I've already feel like here's a problem is getting ready to come up. A lot means they're unbalanced. And so they got heavy or got specialized in doing one thing to the detriment of the others. So we're going to look at all these things and how we can connect. Like it says on the screen, everything is connected. When you lift, you have to lift according to need. If you get strong, and I put this in right now because we're talking speed training, if you want to get fast, you must get stronger. There's a limit. There's a cap to it. When I was the strength and conditioning coach for the Dallas Burn Soccer Club, I knew we couldn't beat those guys up. They can't carry extra weight around the field. Fast first. And so because they run so much and soccer players run 1,000,000 miles, the ability to gain a lot of weight is somewhat self-limiting, and that goes from sport to sport. Basketball has positions, as you know, of course, front court and back court, and we just train them accordingly. But we train everybody, and this is kind of something you want to kind of keep in mind. We tell everybody that they're a 5'10", 165-pound male sprinter. And so that makes a big difference in attitude, because as I've trained big old heavy college linemen going to the NFL, they kind of give themselves an out that, well, I'm a big old heavy guy and I can't run fast. Everybody, we train them how to be a sprinter first. So when you're doing that, train everybody how to be a sprinter. Remember this: technique produces mechanics produces efficiency, and efficiency produces speed. Speed exposes flaws. So as you get faster, I've been on tracks where guys have people out running and working out, and boy, we call it drill great. They go through all the standard skips and form things, and then they'll line up and take off. The group looks kind of homogeneous in the beginning when they're doing all their drills, and then they line up and start doing sprints. It's 50 individuals instead of a group. Now, body size, types, levers make differences, but there should be a very strong similarity from person to person on their running mechanics. So don't misunderstand the need to teach mechanics, but don't be mechanical. All right, I've pretty much covered the ideas and concepts. Would hope somebody might have something I triggered a thought, a question or comment or feedback. We want to look at the chat box and see if you want to bring up something. We can cover a number of, I take that back. We can cover everything. If you have facilities, equipment, it can be weather, because there's times of year, I know we're in Texas and summer's not fun. And so our winters are very mild. So we get a lot done in the winter, but you may have some questions about that. We've done many consulting programs with schools who are, let's say, handicapped because they don't have the finances, they don't have the resources, but we have showed them how, hallways and you can build your own gear. So we can help you if you have any questions about anything I said that wasn't clear. Be glad to repeat it and clarify it. We can discuss it, and let me know what's on your mind. I'd like to know what you, those of you that have joined us, any of you have any particular, what you coach or teach or who you're dealing with on a day-to-day, weekly basis. So I'm looking at, see, Dean, what do you got out there? Janet, anybody got, want to volunteer? Now, of course, we're not able to see you, and we're not going to be able to hear you and point to you, but we certainly want to entertain questions. That's what makes us better, because I'll have a question. And what we do every year is we start over and kind of re-evaluate what we're doing, and we are very critical of ourselves so that we make sure that we provide the best training our athletes can get in this area. Also, just in general, as a promotional idea, we are in Dallas. If you are ever in the area or coming to the area, we'd love to have you come by our facility. And okay.
Ages 7 or 9, would you decrease the level of intensity and focus more on form and technique?
Yes. Anthony is asking about 7 to 9 year olds, and boy, that's a good one. We will start with ours around 8. And so to do that program, I'm going to tell you what we do, and if it works for you, great. If not, follow-up questions so we can direct more to you. We will do a half-hour training program, and we set it up to keep them moving. Yeah, technique dominates, and we have all kinds of drills and things that we'll do, but they're hyper, right? They can't hold focus very long. So we have just one thing after another. Our warm-up, we call our WOOLOO, warm-up, lead-up. What we'll do is we'll take them through fundamental warm-up stuff, and our menu is extremely narrow. There's 1,000 things you can do. I think there are skips. I always tell kids when they come in the first time that there are 787 skips in the world. We do 3 of them. And so you just hammer that. And everything that we do in the warm-up and lead-up is designed to go directly transfer into sprint mechanics. So those are all available on our website and on our YouTube channel. And so, yes, to answer your question, we want to just start with mechanics. The intensity is self-limiting. They can only go fast and definitely only so far. That's why we have, again, we name things so we can kind of keep up with what we're doing. Half ladder became bread and butter because they can't handle a full ladder. What we call the short course, when we say short course, that means we're going to use 8 hurdles. We have gone out to 12 and 13, which really kind of extends a little bit. That's a little bit much. Our basic hurdle alignment's 10, but we will do 8 for the short course with these kids. Now, if you have to, you can go to 6. Below 6, I think we're kind of probably frustrating yourself, because if they can't get that, they can't get it just yet. Another thing to keep up with those kids that you can really, when I say speed exposes flaws, we'll have a drill where we'll have 6 hurdles set up. But the reason I use 6 on this is we'll have a cone set out 10 yards away. So this is one of the things in speed training that is so huge in sports, transitions. So if we run through the hurdles, any pattern, and sprint off the end for 10 yards, there's a transition at the beginning from still to start, then a transition off the end from drill to sprint. And so what we're hoping is that we can see how, when they come off the end of the hurdles, if they are flawed in their mechanics because the transition was hard for them. And chances are it will be. And by the way, because I'm going to interrupt myself often to give you little coaching points, there is interesting flaw when you do drills where we sprint off the end of the hurdles, they drop. So when they come off the last hurdle to sprint, they sink because that last leg that comes over, the first foot that comes over, it kind of mushes or gets soft because they land. Now, here's what we learned from that. The language that is, the sprinting is a series of takeoffs. You only touch the ground to take off again. So you can help that with the teaching of the teaching cues with the kids or coaching cues that take off, don't land. When you land, the longer the contact time with the ground is, the more speed you're losing. So what you want to do is touch the ground, and then we always have cues where we'll say, tear your foot off the ground. And by the way, you ask kids, how do you light a match? Well, you don't light a match like this. You light a match by striking the match against something. So strike the ground when you do speed training. So don't let them get away from the speed mechanics when you are doing all your drills. All right, here's one. We're talking with Janet. Her daughter is a lacrosse player and drills to help her change direction for ground balls and improve her first step for draw control. And she is 16. Okay, now you're going to hear this every time, but make sure you're in the weight room. Leg strength, when you say change direction, and I mentioned that in my discussion, change of direction requires great strength. The technique for change of direction is a good knee joint position. You got to squat when you stop. Now, it's not low, but you got to squat. You can't stay up tall, and you can't reach out with a foot to try to stop. It's a two-footed stop. A lot of athletes will take a step, and that back foot will come off the ground when they try to stop on one leg. So make sure she's doing a two-footed stop. Knees are bent. And this is sports, right? So the ideal position's rare, but the ideal position would be having her feet apart, knees bent, and you want to have the hips between the knees. Sometimes the hips will travel over one leg, and you're just not going to make that cut like you want to. So leg position, and coaches are notorious for saying stay low. That's a misnomer because nobody knows how deep that is. Athletes have that. If you have somebody and you say, stand there, act like you're going to rebound a basketball, go. And without a lot of instruction like I just did, they'll drop and go. In other words, they'll bend their knees to jump, and that's the position they need to be in. It's different for everybody, but everybody is similar. And we have these online, so make sure you go to our website. I'm going to keep going, kingsportstraining.com, YouTube channel, King Sports Training. And ask something else here. My producer's getting me in check out our lacrosse programs online. We have, let me keep this out front here. The most.fit is where all our training programs live. I keep talking about our YouTube videos. They're there, but they are also on the most.fit. So we have instruction plans. You can go to the shop at most.fit, type in lacrosse, and we have a lot of programs there. And on the most.fit, we have strength programs. We have the athletic development programs where the lifting, running, conditioning are combined. And then if you have one of those elements, you think, well, I'm comfortable with this, I'm satisfied with that, go look for the individual components, the speed, the conditioning, and so forth. So it's all there. It looks like we're pretty close to the end now. And want to thank you. I can't thank you enough. This is a lot of fun for me. I really believe in what we do here. If you have any other questions, be sure to email us or just drop them in our comment section. We are on YouTube, we are on Instagram, and we're on Facebook. So make sure you check us out at Coach Bob King, and we will be able to answer you in some form or fashion. So we're very glad to be here, glad you were here, and we'll let you know when the next one comes up, and we will keep growing the program. Thank you for attending. Hope you had a great time, enjoyed it.